Welcome to Healing Reflections, where we have conversations about healing and restoration. I'm Michaelia Nobles, and joining me today, I have Dr. Lauren Pitts-Bounds. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and just sitting with us. I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the audience, tell them a little bit about you.
Thank you. So, Michaelia, thank you first and foremost for having me. As Michaelia said, I'm Dr. Lauren Pitts-Bounds. I'm the founder and CEO of Legacy Counseling and Life Coaching, LLC. Legacy is all about my trauma. It literally was birthed from my trauma. For many years, I was a sole proprietor as a couple marriage and family therapist, which I am licensed. And in 2023, friends and family members and colleagues were like, it's time. It's time to take this work to the next level. And that was when Legacy was officially birthed as Legacy. Over the past few years, we had called it different things just because of the work that I was doing in different areas of behavioral mental health. But that's where Legacy came from. It really was birthed out of my own trauma and pain because I decided I wanted to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. And that decision was made in 6th grade.
Hey, listen, I love that. I love that. I'm so glad. Thank you so much for just giving us that introduction. As somebody who has been through trauma herself, I can relate to you a lot. But one thing I want to do is, go deeper into the background. So you say you made the decision in the 6th grade. So what was it that first found moment? Like, you know what, when you came to the decision, like, I want to be a part of this. I'm going to be a part of the solution.
So I've never met my biological father, and my stepfather ended up being incarcerated for a period of time, and my grandfather and my uncles on the maternal side of my family were integral parts of my life and my upbringing, but it didn't stop the trauma. So varying degrees of abuse, neglect, and maltreatment from different avenues of life. And, I honestly and believe, Michaelia, it's just the way that God designed me. I tell people at 58 years of age, I use my powers for good and not for evil. And in my youth, I was strong-willed, just very, very, very strong-willed. But it didn't always come out in the most positive and productive ways. But in 6th grade, I can't tell you specifically what it was that shifted in my life, but I knew that I wanted to be instrumental in people healing. I knew that I didn't want anybody to ever have to know the pain that I had known to that point in my life, and not even fully realizing that there was a whole lot more to come. But I just knew that I wanted to be instrumental in helping people to feel better. So I said to my grandfather that I wanted to go to college, and he said, well, we don't have any money, which is interesting because I didn't grow up poor. The people's concept of poverty is just mind-blowing to me, but that's another conversation.
Yes.
But my grandfather said, we don't have any money. If you want to go to college, your brain is your ticket out of Salem, New Jersey, which is where I'm from. And I was like, oh, I can do that.
Right.
That's all it's going to take is the brain. I'm good with that. And then the path began.
I love that, especially like say growing up from a young age. I had that same experience, One thing is like, even though my dad was in my life, he wasn't an active part of my life. So I was really solely raised by my mother. My grandmother played a huge role. My brother played a huge role. So that absence of a father, I can absolutely relate to, and it does make an impact. And I'm so glad that you made that decision at a young age, that you was like, I'm not gonna let this hold me back. I'm gonna change, I'm gonna make the difference. And I feel like it takes a lot of strength. And it takes a lot of faith to be able to say, I'm going to use what God has allowed to happen to me to bring glory to Him. That is definitely a powerful, powerful choice to make, especially at such a young age, because some people don't decide to make that decision until later on in life.
And some people never make it, Michaelia. And some people still don't know what they want to be when they grow up.
Yes, listen, I cannot tell you how many times I done changed my major.
Wow.
Done figured it out. I was like, okay, I done figured out what I want to do.
Okay.
But you mentioned you grew up in New Jersey. So how was that like growing? What was the environment growing up in New Jersey?
Ooh, Michaelia, you said we had a short period of time, so I'm going to give you the short version.
Okay.
So Southern New Jersey at that point in time was a predominantly Caucasian town. A lot of old money. I tell people, Salem, New Jersey was a part of the Underground Railroad. It is a port town, so there was a lot of hustle and bustle and prosperity back then. And it was really a beautiful place and space for people of color to be back then when I was a child growing up. It looks a little different today. I'll say it like that because I don't want hate mail coming from my family members and friends that still live there.
I understand.
But the experience is very different. So growing up in a devout Christian home, I was raised Pentecostal holiness. That comes with its cost and its benefits too. But growing up in a Caucasian environment back then, we had one of the best school districts in the state. So received a stellar education, had to be bused in town because I grew up in rural Salem County, New Jersey on a farm. So I'm a country girl through and through. And really, it was amazing. You know, the parts of my life growing up that were amazing. And I can honestly say that the good parts of my childhood I wouldn't change for anything. I am from a massive family. There are currently 6 generations of my family living. And people are like, how can you have a family that big and we're close-knit? Like, people are surprised that I remember everybody's birthday, right? But that's just how I was raised, just very, very, very close-knit. A lot of, I don't want to use the word demands, but a lot of very high expectations for academic excellence, for conducting oneself as a young lady should, conducting oneself the way a Christian girl should. So a lot of order and structure and discipline around conduct and academic performance. And it's, you know, it's been an instrumental part of me becoming Dr. Pitts. So yeah. Great experience.
Just sitting here with you, I'm learning we have so much in common. I grew up Pentecostal as well, so I can definitely understand with the expectations and the, especially when my mom, you know, when she went back and got her master's degree, she had 2 kids already. She was already married. And my great grandmother, rest her soul, who was like living at the time, was like, hey, if you want to go back and get your degree, now is the time. Because I'll watch her. Don't worry about it. Like, pursue your dreams. And that, just seeing how she was able to do that balance, being a wife, a mother, working full time and going to school at night, trying to pursue what she wanted to do. That, listen, there's no excuse for you. Like, with me being at home with no kids, you have you have no reason why you do not.
I don't hear nothing bad about why you can't do X, Y, or Z.
Like, listen, I was like, either you gonna do, there's 3 things in her household. It's like, either you gonna go to work, you go to school, but on Sundays you gonna go to church.
That part right there.
You're gonna go to church. And
It's non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable. And if you miss, it got to be a real good reason to miss.
Right.
But let's transition into legacy. You say it was birthed from your trauma. So what was the starting points to getting legacy started?
So legacy, you know, and this might sound a little strange, legacy really initially started without a name, if you will, when I was in undergrad. What is so amazing about my journey is the people that God has blessed me to allow to cross my path. And my academic advisor, my freshman year at Johnson & Wales University, where I transferred, because I originally went to Howard University, and transferred from Howard back home to the community college, pregnant, 19, you know, that whole, all the disappointment and embarrassment, shame and humiliation, being reared Pentecostal and a teenage, you know, pregnant and not married. But when I transferred to Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Rhode Island, my academic advisor saw something in me that at that point in time in my life I hadn't even seen in myself. And he wanted me to become a mentor for at-risk youth that were in one of the neighboring communities in middle school. And we had a program back then called the Cultural Enrichment Program. And I loved it. I loved it because I felt that I was connected to people who didn't look like me, but understood me, right? And being able to mentor those young people, and basically what he taught me to do was to take my own pain and disappointment and use it as a platform to be instrumental in other people's healing, which is what I said I wanted to do in 6th grade. And I hadn't had that conversation with him, or anybody for that matter. So I really feel like that was something that was divinely orchestrated. And that was initially when legacy started to evolve, right? And just over the years, so from no name to Teens on Track for Success, and from Teens on Track for Success to the Zeal Foundation, and from the Zeal Foundation to just Dr. Pitts, right? And then from Dr. Pitts to, okay, Lord, what are we doing here? And always wanting to align myself with biblical principle that instructs us to leave a godly legacy and inheritance for our children's children's children.
Yes.
And it literally, I woke up with it one day and I was like, you know what? Legacy. And this is what it is.
Wow, that's just, whew, when I tell you, just hearing it, it's just like and it's important to have that division, have that, line yourself up, because if you don't align yourself, and I just think about where God says, like, if you, apart from me, you can't do anything. So if he's not a part of it, it's not going to happen regardless. So I want to just commend you for just for being obedient and aligning yourself with that and saying, okay, God, what is it that you want me to do? Give me the steps, and seeing how where it's come to the day is just a beautiful moment to see. And then it's just encouraging to, like, you know, to make you look at your own self, like, okay, let me align myself, not just for the success, because you always want to just be in the will of God.
I had a whole lot of failures.
What?
The whole, and can I just take a moment to expound on that?
Of course.
So the part that I left out about the journey and the evolution of legacy, at 16 years of age, and a lot of people know, a lot of people that are intimately connected to me know this, people who don't have no idea, but at the age of 16, I tell people I had a temporary lapse of sanity, and I went up for altar call one day, Michaela, and why, I don't know, but I prayed and I asked God to make me to my family, my friends, my community, and the world what Moses was to the children of Israel. And that prayer really was prayed from the innocence and purity of a child's heart. And because of that spiritually immature place and space that I was in at 16 years of age, I had no idea that I was basically inviting hell to just, to just, you know, blow my life up.
Right.
So a lot of mistakes. I don't like to call failure. I know that people perceive that they failed when things don't go their way, but failure has always been feedback for me. So even though there was embarrassment and shame and humiliation associated with a number of the mistakes that I've made in my life, they were a part of my process. And I'm sitting here before you today as Dr. Lauren Denise Pitts-Bounds because those mistakes that I made were integral in my shaping, in my evolving, and in my ability to do the work that I do today on the level that I do it and with the passion that I do it. People don't want to know about what you heard. They want to know about what you know. And having survived and overcome, and now in a place and space in my life where I'm thriving to the degree that I am, that connects with people, right? Because people see Dr. Lauren Pitts-Bounds, or they see how you walk, or how you dress, or what you drive, or whatever, and they're like, oh my gosh, you can't take the version of me that you see today without taking all of the heartache and the pain and the suffering and the abuse, the neglect and the maltreatment. All of it has been a holistic contribution to the woman that's sitting here with you today.
Right, I definitely agree with you, because a lot of people do look at the glamour. They don't want to see the behind the scenes. They don't want to see the steps you took to get there.
Right.
I definitely can relate to that, because when people see me, like, they see like, oh, you've accomplished this, you wrote a book, you got this going on. It's like, do you not understand what I go through on a daily basis just to maintain just Michaela, not who you see on the radio, not who you see in front of the camera, not who you see who's the author of the book, like just Michaela, like what I gotta go through. Like, I recently just lost somebody very dear to me, so I'm still going through grieving. So I'm just like, some people's like, we want to see that. I'm just like, do you really want to see?
Right.
Or are you just really want to just see like the glitz, the glamour?
Right.
You can't, like you say, you can't accept the glitz and glamour. You got to take all of me. You got to take
the blood.
You got to take the baggage. You got to take all the other stuff. You got to take all that with you. It just cannot be the total package. You got to get through there and get through those levels. And then that's kind of what I'm learning too, is just like, you just can't just turn the camera back on now.
Right.
Now it's time to, we got to go.
It's all of it.
We got to push through
the grand
this.
scheme of things.
Yes, like
there's layers.
You got to get through it, and then we could get back to lights, camera, action. But right now, we behind the scenes.
We got to wipe this blood up.
Yes. We in production. We got to clean up. There's trash everywhere. We got to get it up.
Real. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the future for Legacy? Where do you see it going?
Ooh, Michaela. So I'm going to tell you first what I envisioned for Legacy. And then I'm going to tell you what God has been showing me. And I'm like, ooh, wait,
Slow down.
me can't, my niece used to say, me can't like it. what I envisioned for legacy initially was, being a multi-state agency that was going to be instrumental in helping people to be stronger, healthier, better versions of themselves, right? And as things have continued to evolve, I tell people any client that's a good fit for us we'll work with, but I'm particularly passionate about the marginalized and disenfranchised persons. I'm particularly passionate about Black and brown persons. I'm particularly passionate about children and women and girls that have been victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and various forms of trauma, right? So that's what I envisioned. I came to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, from New Jersey, out of spiritual obedience and my love for the Dallas Cowboys. Had to get that out there, right?
Yeah,
love my Dallas Cowboys.
Listen.
But it was like, okay, open up 5 offices around the Metroplex. I'm good, have space, because I'm dually licensed in Delaware and in Texas. So, but, get to a place in space where maybe open up an office in my hometown and what have you. Michaelia. This vision. So I'm also a Fulbright scholar, a Fulbright alum. I'm awaiting to find out if I'm going to be reinstated to the Fulbright specialist roster for a second term. And the work that I did during my Fulbright was in Barbados, and I studied the impact of paternal absence and presence on the adolescent daughter's decision-making regarding her academic trajectory, and was planning to incorporate sexual health decisions as well, but the Ministry of Education vetoed that, so we just focused on academics. So at a place in space now where, having lived for a year in Barbados and just the additional work and research that I've done among our people globally, legacy is global. I want legacy, and this is the way that I feel like God is speaking to my spirit about it. I want legacy to be the global standard of clinical excellence and personal and professional development under the umbrella of that life coaching. I want legacy to be the standard of excellence when it comes to mental health and relationship wellness globally, particularly for our people, but for anyone, obviously, that is an appropriate fit to work with us, but specifically for our people. I want us to be the standard, the platinum standard, globally.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. And I'm just saying, just to have people, especially I'm very cautious and very, protective over our people of color, especially the men, because I just feel like as people of color, we go through so much. We recently just celebrated MLK Day, and I just remember, just talking to one of my friends about it. I said, man, we've come a long way.
Right.
I said, just to think about what, the stories, I remember my grandmother telling me how when she was coming up, she was, she was born around when segregation was around. And I remember one story she told me that, they had to sit in the back of the bus, her and my great grandmother, and everybody had went in the restaurant to eat, and this white bus driver came to the back, asked them if they wanted something to eat, went and bought it, and brought it back to them.
Wow.
So just knowing that, wow, because, when you hear segregation and, it kind of puts you in a mindset, hate that particular race, but what her telling me that, she's like, listen, not everybody's like that.
Right.
She had to instill, hey, I know they have us, in this mind frame, we gotta hate them. We don't, because she's like, if he, she's like, had he not did that, we wouldn't have ate that day.
Wow.
And my grandmother, great-grandmother was working at the time, and they were just riding, going home, and she's like, everybody had went there and ate. They couldn't eat because they didn't have a color section, so they had to sit in the bus while everybody ate. Wow. Just the kindness of his heart to come and from where he's at. And
he met them in a place of common humanity.
And so that's what she instilled in us. And just like I said, to have that person, to have just your platform, your group, for you to just say, hey, we're going to be this platform. We're going to be this platform to come to us, help us, because we go through so much, and there's a lot of things we don't want to talk about. Right. We were told what happens in this house stays in this house.
Oh my gosh.
That's saying there, listen, talk about
what you don't know won't hurt you. Lies. Lies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could talk. That's another conversation. But
right.
But just to hear that you are creating a space,
Yeah.
you're creating where people could come, no matter color what they've went through and be
Right.
heard and actually get the help that they need,
Right.
and not feel like, oh, I have to keep this in.
Right.
I just want to commend you, because
you.
a lot
Thank
of people don't have that. And me just like relating to that, because at first, when I was first introduced to therapy, and it wasn't given to me as an actual tool. It was given to me as a form of anger management, because I was being bullied.
Okay.
And I had lashed out at the girls who were targeting me, and they was like, well, if you don't want her expelled, she has to go to therapy. Well,
Wow.
quote unquote anger management. But so I had an offset of it, but I tried it again like later on, like in my 20s. So I'm just like, okay, no. I like then when you go through the layers, and they like, but it's very important to have somebody that can listen. That's, and I feel like it's even better when somebody's went through what you went through, and they can relate to the feelings that you're feeling. They can understand, oh, listen, I know exactly where you at, because I remember when I was like X, Y, and Z. I feel like it creates a stronger bond. And he's like, okay, this person's not just talking to me because this is what they're getting paid to do.
Right.
This person sees me as a human, and they've been where I've been. So it's easier for you to trust somebody, rather you making a bond with somebody who's just, okay, so come in, sit down.
All this textbook knowledge.
right here. So we're gonna talk about your feelings. Do you feel like today's a green day or it's a red day? Like, that's what.
Got those zones of regulation.
Yes. I'm gonna give you some steps. Count to 3 with me. 1, 2, 3. Do you feel better? Like, it's
No, I want to punch you.
like, no, like like you, or sitting there just breaking down, crying your eyes out. It's like, so how do you feel? It's like, you don't see the tears, like you don't.
How do you think I feel? How do you think I feel? Right.
But it's just, like I said, it's just beautiful to hear that people are coming and they are able to get that help that they need and not feel ostracized. Because society has a way of making, especially Black people, that in standard conversation, Black people don't go to therapy. Lies. I'm one of them. I go to therapy, honey. I got to go. But it's just like I said, it's just a beautiful thing. And again, I want to just commend you again for just being strong enough and being obedient to do what God is calling you to do. And I just pray that you continue to go on with it.
Well, I mean, that's the plan. And if I may, you said some key buzzwords that I think it's important to sort of expound upon a bit for folks. So when you look at the stigma that's in the Black community, right? What goes on in this house stays in this house. My counter for that is secrets keep us sick. And you cannot heal what you will not expose.
Right.
So if we want to break what we know in a biblical context as bloodline curses, we have to put our finger on the pulse of them. You cannot confront and conquer what you won't acknowledge. So those secrets, at some point in time, they're going to have to be addressed, because they're creating emotional and relational cancer at the roots of our family trees. And a lot of it, I truly believe, is the residual effects of slavery. And people need to be willing to have the elephant in the room conversations so that we can begin to heal our family systems. I want to encourage all people, not just Black people, but I want to encourage all people who shy away from therapy and feel like, oh, I don't want people all up in my business. Well, how's keeping everything suppressed working out for you, is what I say about that. I want to encourage people to look at therapy as a proactive measure or preventative maintenance. People say, well, I don't want people to think I'm crazy. It's not about being crazy. It's about being unhealthy. It's about being unstable. It's about having relationship fractures and ruptures and these cycles of broken and conflictual relationships that plague so many of our homes and so many of our communities that people don't want to address. Well, how are you going to tell me how to live my life? Well, I'm so glad you asked.
Listen here.
Right? Because at the end of the day, as cliche as it is, it's true. If you continue to do what you have always done, you will continue to receive what you've always received, right? The lived experience, what I like to call the PhD from the School of Hard Knocks of Life, married to the formal education, training, and professional experience that I have as a behavioral and a mental health practitioner, positions me to be able to provide people insight on how they can heal virtually every aspect of their life. So when I hear people say, well, how are you going to tell me? That's arrogance. That's pride. And the Bible says pride comes before a fall, does it not?
It does.
So you know, my question to folks is, are you really good? Because I'm good, I don't need that. Okay, let me take a step back and really look at your life under a magnifying glass. You're not good. You're on your 5th husband or your 4th wife. You got 25 kids by 30 different women all over the countryside. You're not even taking care of 3 of them. You got anxiety, depression, anger management issues. You can't keep a job. Your money funny. Your change is strange. You're screaming, yelling, hooping, hollering, cussing and fussing. You're mad at the world. You're blaming everybody. You're in victim mode. You're not good.
Right.
You are not good. What you are is afraid, because that place and space of woundedness that you have been hemorrhaging all over every aspect of your life with is keeping you stuck. Healing, whether it's emotional healing or relational healing or healing a broken leg, healing comes with discomfort. But on the other side of that discomfort is supposed to be greater strength. It's supposed to be restoration. It's supposed to be power. What are you afraid of? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. So, Dr. Lauren, what do you see the goals for this segment? What do you really want students to take from this segment?
I love that question. And what I really want students to understand is that you're not alone. You know, whether you're African American or Asian or Irish, it doesn't matter. You are not alone. There are supports in place for you. It doesn't have to be with Legacy. It can be with any organization. My encouragement for the student body of UTA and for young adults throughout our community, I want folks to understand that there is help, there is support. I can speak for Legacy. We are not looking to judge or criticize. We are looking to educate, empower, and liberate, and be instrumental in helping the people that we serve to leave a stronger, healthier legacy within their family systems. So I think that it is really important when you think about the pressure of academia, when you think about the pressure of relationships for your scholar athletes, all of the pressure that comes with being, you know, a scholar athlete. There's a lot of pressure in this setting, but there's also a lot of pressure out in the community, in this country. The climate that we are existing in today is just full of stressors, but you do not have to address those stressors alone. There is help for you. I encourage everyone who hears these segments to please consider reaching out for help, if for nothing else, just so that you have a safe space to purge. It's not about getting a mental health diagnosis all the time. Right. It's about having a safe space where you can be vulnerable and be transparent, and you don't have to worry about being judged or criticized or told what to do. But you're not holding everything in, because that makes you like a volcano ready to erupt.
Right.
And that has the ability to create splatter in every area of your life. And nobody wants that.
Right.
So let's be proactive in communicating with someone that has the formal education, training, and professional experience to help all of you be stronger, healthier, better versions of yourself.
Amazing. That is just, whew. Listen, that's another conversation for another day. Because, that's going to get me. Listen, you just said so many key things here, especially with us being the younger generation in college, trying to do everything. We go through so much. But again, another conversation for another day. I just want to thank you again for coming onto the show. Thank you for just being so open and transparent and sharing your passion and sharing your story with us. And make sure you guys come and tune in to Mav Media on Spotlights every other Wednesday to hear more Healing Reflections with Dr. Lauren Pitts and Michaelia. And we'll see you guys on the next Healing Reflection.